At the KSMO studios, your hometown radio station. We appreciate you joining us. It is Friday, December 22nd. It's day 22, day 3 away from Christmas.
First full day of winter,
First
Stan.
full
Happy
day.
first day of winter, Stan.
And it's
Ron?
going to be 58 degrees.
Yeah.
And it's going to be 60 tomorrow, and then 62 on Christmas Day.
That's okay. It'll change.
Oh, it will. It will.
We'll have winter.
But what are we getting, Daryl?
Rain.
Rain.
That's right.
We're getting some rain. Much needed rain, I might add.
And
So
all
anyway.
across the South Central Regional Stockyards region, we need rain.
Yeah, we need rain. I want to thank you for joining us on this last program of 2023.
Amazing. Hard to believe.
Hard to believe it. The years go by. And we have a special guest with us today. Mr. Ron Copeland has stepped in.
State rep.
Good morning, everyone.
Our state rep. Your district is 120th?
120, Denton, Crawford counties, yes.
I always get that all kind of mixed up, but South Central Regional Stockyards is very happy to have Mr. Ron Copeland in. A state representative, does a good job representing agriculture and across our region and the cattle industry, of course. So anyway, it's good to be here this morning, Stan.
Well, it's good. It's good for me to be here and see you for the first time in like a month and a half.
Yeah. You've been traveling and you've been out and things and
More
busy.
out than traveling.
It's been a busy time, but anyway, whew, what a blessed year this has been, though.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things going on, and here at Christmas, it's time to reflect back on things. And I've got family members that are no longer with us, and good friends. And I made a change in occupation this year, and I mean it's just been an interesting year. And started the year as presiding commissioner of Dent County. Thoroughly enjoyed that for 16 years. Got a chance to go back to work for the stockyards. We got some things settled with on county stuff with the state Department of Revenue and that deal. And I see they've been progressing, getting work done on the courthouse that I was glad to see. So was glad to be able to get a chance to go back to work with the Stockyards Zoo and take my retirement from commission and politics. Politics has a way of just building on you after a while. So at any rate, but it was fun and I enjoyed it, and a lot of great people in Dent County, and was appreciated the chance to do that and serve. But really enjoy back working again with South Central Regional Stockyards and helping folks with their livestock marketing plans. And
You never
get
did
things
really
done.
stop livestocking. You were still
No,
working on your
I've-
farm every
I've
day, and
still
you were
got-
helping out in the FFA auction. I mean, nothing ever changed as far as that was
Not
concerned.
as far as that goes, but I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it a priority as
Right,
far as working, as far as helping the stockyards. I'd still go up and help on sale days if I was free. Didn't have a meeting, and quite frankly, it was always kind of a relief to be able to go up there and hang out and hide out, kind of
like the old days, huh?
Stockyard,
Yeah, I kinda
yeah.
remember
But
those.
at any rate, now I'm back more, and I can get out and help people on the farm, help them get their trucking arranged and get them up there, and then look after their sales. So I'm there every sale now, pretty much every. I don't think I've missed a sale since I started back. And but at any rate, it's been a good year for cattle producers in our region, and it's been it's been ups and downs in the market. The prices, it always is, been a bit of a yo-yo. But we'll get into some more prices here in a little bit. But first, Stan, let's get to our special guest, Representative Ron
He's
Copeland.
over there,
Let's see.
as quiet as a church
He's
mouse
just
right
chomping
now.
at the bit
Just taking in
to
all
get
the
into
information.
You're getting ready to go back in session. Yeehaw! Right?
Yeah, that's
man.
right. It's just, when I started this whole ordeal, I was told that, in session is time to legislate, and when you're out of session, you need to kind of find out what the people want and what legislation we want to work for and put forward to help our communities. So that's kind of what I've been doing since May, and I'll take that up to Jeff City next year and go forward.
Yep. And I do know, and I can tell folks, of course, Ron and I have been friends for years. We go to church together, and I can tell folks, if just because they're not in session don't mean that Ron isn't working, and he's going to stuff, but he's also thinking and asking questions and checking on stuff, and we catch him. Matter of fact, we get in trouble with our wives every once in a while on Sunday because we're too busy talking.
And I've seen you
shop
outside the church talking.
stuff. So
I just go to Walmart. If I go to Walmart, I get 15 questions, and I'm all right with that because people want to know.
Sure.
And I feel that when you put yourself in this position, people want to be able to contact you and ask you questions, and I mean they have a concern. I mean,
but it is a time, life-consuming commitment if you're going to do the job.
it very much is. I mean, it really is. It's just
Kind of
one
like
of those
commission.
things.
It's
It's not. People think it's a part-time position, and it could be a part-time position if I wanted it to be. You go to Jeff City and then come back and do what you got to do. But I feel that how do I know what people want in the community if I'm not out and about asking, or you'll get the people call your office,
Sure,
but you'll get the
sure.
same 10 or 15 people call all the time about the same issue. I mean, and that's good.
They're not letting you forget.
I
are they?
have no
Yeah.
problem with that, because how do I, like I tell people out in the community, I can't fix it if I don't know, and if I know and I can't fix it, I'll let them know. I mean, so you try to give them that information as well. But it's been interesting for the last 3 years. I mean, it's the biggest thing about being a rep, it's every 2 years you have to campaign and run instead of 4, so you're constantly out there getting to know the community. And I think back in the day when they decided the 2-year and 4-year deal was your representative is usually the closest to the people, because
Right.
you have to run every 2 years. How often do you see your senator or your congressman? And I mean, because congressmen run every 2 years, so they're back in there. But your senators, 4 years and 6 years is so they're not saying they're not concerned. It's just they're not in the community as much as we are.
And one of the things when you start talking about communities, every community, whether it be Dent County or Oregon County or Crawford County or whatever county you're going to be representing the next time, you never know when they start redoing it. Everybody there's a uniqueness to each county, and you have to learn that, because as you're elected, you don't, maybe you didn't know anything in Crawford County when you were serving Oregon County, and Shannon County. So now all of a sudden you're no longer serving those people. You're serving these people. You have a whole new skill set you got to learn, because what happens in Crawford County on I-44 is nothing like what happens down in Shannon County or in Oregon County down by the Arkansas line. It's totally different, isn't it?
It is very different. I mean, they all good people, great concerns. They're all trying to make a living, feeding their families and trying to have a good life. But there are different issues in every town. You got an interstate in Crawford County where there's not one in Dent, Oregon, or Shannon.
Right.
I mean, so it just has different, unique things you look at, and things that and that's why you have to get out and find them things out. If I sit behind the desk and wait for a phone call, sometimes you don't find that out.
But it's interesting to me. Yeah, you had a change in the makeup of your district, but you're having served previously. Your counties were basically Dent, Shannon, and Oregon. But you made some great friends and contacts in those counties.
I get more phone calls from them now than I did before, and I just take care of it, right? Because it says state representative, not Dent and Crawford representative.
Sure.
But a lot of their concerns are similar to Dent County's concerns and things. And as you're looking at things for Crawford County and Dent County have a lot in common.
Sure.
But to me, it's really kind of a great deal for you in the bigger picture there, that you've got those good contacts down there. And of course, and you've got some, and I know this for a fact, there's people down there that can consider you a great friend of theirs, and they will convey those things on to their rep that took over then, and so you can build relationship then with them and this and that and stuff. So it all comes together somehow in the end. And
yeah, some of the biggest things that I hated about the redistricting was, you're right in the middle of helping Thayer get an industrial complex or working with MoDOT, and they yank you out and they send you somewhere else, and their guys are still trying to do that. Just different things like them kind of things that you were dealing with. It just kind of feeling like you're taking you away. So I try to stay in contact with them. If they need anything from me, I help them with the new representation down there. It's kind of double the work, but you just hate to leave when you're in the middle of trying to get. My goal was to get Denton or get Oregon and Shannon County economic development person like we have here in Salem, because I see the need and how well it works for this county. And neither one of those counties had that. They used their MRPC or the Regional Planning Commission to do everything.
which we need working again here.
Which is
Dent
a
County.
great thing. I'm not taking that away from them. But if, they have, what is MRPC, have 8 counties, something like that. Yeah. So they're dealing with 8 counties, and when, they see a need, that there's 8 counties they got to look at. If Dent County has a economic development person, they see, hey, they take care of that daily. It's kind of like that was my goal, and then I kind of got ripped out of that. But
and hopefully that is a position Dent County and Shannon County, or Dent County and the city of Salem can work together and refill.
Yeah, I knew that happened because of what happened in the city, the administrator thing position. But I just saw how well that worked for Dent County.
Absolutely.
And I see how it works in other counties throughout the state. If you look at West Plains, they've got one in West Plains, and just look how West Plains has grown.
Sure.
I mean, I fought that every day up there. Nothing against West Plains, but they get a lot of grant money, a lot of things, because they're growing, because they have somebody daily looking at what they can get.
Finding money.
And So
And it's
them are
all about the
things-
contacts.
It is.
is.
I mean, really is. So.
Really.
Yeah.
But no, it's been good. I mean, the last 3 years, it's. I think that I've done really. I focused on the needs of the community, So some of the things, and I can go into that. Or you have any questions about what I've done in the past? I mean,
Just whatever you think the folks need to hear.
well, I'll just tell you. I know
people.
people think, what do I do? What do you do? All that kind of stuff. Now I do vote on. You had the Second Amendment Preservation Act. And,
You make reindeers.
Yeah, I do make reindeer. Putting them up is a kicker. But no, the reindeer thing is just a way for me to say, I always said, when I won the first time, I put thank you on my signs, because how do I thank people for voting for me and trusting me to this position? And then, to follow up with that, most of the time you see a politician every 2 years asking for a vote, right? So, I mean, how do I let people know I really care and I'm still part of the community? So me and my wife come up with the idea of, say, just had that reindeer. I think that's a neat idea. You see the idea, see the reindeer, and then you see my sign. You just know that I'm out there, that I'm still out there working for the people, and I got 5 of them now, all over got one in Bourbon, Steelville, Cuba.
But the neat thing is it shows you care about those communities. I mean, I'm not trying to toot your horn, but I mean, if you put one in Salem, you get one down to City Park, Bourbon, Cuba, wherever it might be, it just shows people, hey, I'm just wishing you a Merry Christmas. I'm not asking for your vote. I'm just wishing you a Merry Christmas.
I mean, it's just one of those things. Is like, it's my family, and I just want to be part of, and that's
and
what I
you love
believe
to
in.
do it too. You like doing it.
Well, if I find
you like to build them.
Oh, I'd love to build them.
Yeah.
Not putting them up. Yeah. I could build my wife says I need to build a sleigh to put behind one. I think that would be an awful big sleigh.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what's funny is I put one in Steelville for the first time this year, and I was sitting at church on Wednesday evening, and I get a picture from the guy in Steelville that let me put it up. He says, "I hope you don't mind," and they actually wrapped it in Christmas lights.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so it looks awesome. And I
Cool.
said, now you know what's going to happen. Now I'm going to have to do that next year to all mine.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, but it looks really neat, and that's a blessing because them guys support me.
Sure.
By doing that, it just shows, it shows the reindeer off at night a little bit better.
Absolutely.
So it just looks, so I am blessed as far as that goes. I mean, there's a lot of support, and I think people know that I'm here for the right reason, not to go out here and gig the far right or far left issues. I'm here to try to help the community do better. And how do we do that? Sometimes we got to compromise and work together.
Yep. Well, and then the Stockyards is glad to have you representing this area. One of the things I know, and I know you work closely with and know him very well now, Dr. Kent Hayden.
Oh, yeah, Kent Hayden's a great guy.
Veterinarian, he's a state rep
Yep.
from up around Mexico, Missouri, and of course, Kent's a great advocate for agriculture as well, and I'm sure he can help you fill in the blanks sometimes on why something. But I think one of the things I know that you guys worked on and I think got done, and of course, we're very fortunate in agriculture in rural Missouri that we've got both a governor and lieutenant governor who have, and of course, the governor has rural roots, a farmer too, and Lieutenant Governor Kehoe we had on the radio here a while back, but of course he's got a farm over in Phelps County and Pulaski County and cattle and understands agriculture and very supportive. But excuse me, but one of the things he's done was done some work on trying to help get more large animal veterinarians back in the deal, and those just little things like that add up and make a difference because it's getting more and more difficult to attract young people. I mean, let's face it, there's probably a little more money to be made treating dogs and cats, but the beef and the horse people need veterinarians as well. And then, and especially when the feds come down with more regulations that make it even tougher to treat your animals without having a veterinary prescription and a veterinary hands-on deal with the thing. And so we really appreciate work that you all do on that area there of trying to at least help on the ag side with things like that. And I don't know what might be in the future or going on. I mean, that legislation passed, as I recall.
It did pass. It provided some financial help to
incentives.
Large animal vets. I think we had the program, and they just expanded it to include maybe a few more people to be part of that program.
What do you see as being hot topics coming up this legislative session? Of course, being an election year, it'll be
well,
an
election
interesting
year
session.
is going to kind of like be the roll of the dice. I know that petition initiative is one of the big talks. We talked about that last session. And, I mean, people think we're taking their vote away by changing the petition initiative part, but, we got bingo in our Constitution. And, if you look at Amendment 3, it passed, people passed it. I'm not against it. It's my job as a legislator to the right of the people to vote, and I don't want to take that away from them, but we're going to get down to where 13 counties passed Amendment 3 in the state out of 114 counties. I mean, so what's happening is you got St. Louis, Kansas City, Columbia, and Springfield dictating the rules and some of the constitutional amendments that's on the ballot. I mean, so that's what concerns me. It's kind of like your electoral college. They were smart back in the day to know that, your president shouldn't, the majority vote, certain, 3 or 4 cities
states can elect the president.
Yeah. So there was pretty smart as far as when you go to voting, it gives everybody some rights to votes and gives their vote to count. So, I mean, the petition initiative to me is probably one of the most important. 13 counties, right now it's 50 plus 1%, right? 50 plus 1 vote to pass anything in our Constitution. And, that to me is that really the voice of the people, I think our U.S. Constitution is 66%. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure the threshold is a lot higher.
Yeah, it is.
And last year we had a petition initiative that was 57% that was going to. And I don't know if I really liked that as well, because you can still get the populated votes dictate that.
Sure.
The 2 petition initiatives that I would support and I like is the 8 congressional districts. 5 of the 8 have to be 50% plus 1, right? So you have to have at least 5 of your congressional districts have 50 plus 1% of the vote for it to pass. If 4 of them have 50% plus 1 and the rest don't, so that kind of makes it fair throughout the state.
Because those areas are similarly populated.
Well, you got St. Louis, Kansas City, and you got Springfield are in a certain congressional districts, right? And Columbia.
Right.
So that's 4. So they couldn't pass Amendment 3 without some of the rural congressional districts. I mean, and vice versa. The rural people couldn't pass it without the 4 other ones.
Right.
So it does make it fair when people say it doesn't fair. No, it is, because the Amendment 3 passed with them 4. I mean, you got St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, and Columbia were 4 different congressional districts, right? So they passed that. So this would just say, hey, no, the rural people would get a vote as well. And there's also one that gives, and this one I think would be a lot more difficult. Every representative district, like the 163 districts, the majority of them would have to have 50 plus 1%. I mean, then you're really getting down deeper.
Yeah.
I just don't know how I don't know what that would work. And I think that would not be as favorable towards the other side of the aisle, because we have 111 Republicans, so you would assume that them would lean one way and the other, and the 50 would lean the other. When you have congressional districts, it's a little bit broader people voting, more diverse group of voters in them districts. Even though they lean one way or another, it's not like Dent and Crawford. There's probably a 75% thing. So there's not. If you did my district, it's probably going to be unfairly to the other side. If you do it by districts, it'll be congressional district Jason Smith. So I don't know what he wins by, but it's not 75%. So it gives a more diverse thing. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest topics, because, you got the abortion issue that people are talking about. They're wanting to put that on the ballot. To make that come back and things. Even though Missouri is one of the states that doesn't allow that. So that's an accomplishment. But you're just. I think that's probably the biggest. And then education, I got a text the other day that there's people coming after our public school education system, and they're going to put several $1 million to change that, so I mean, so that's going to be another big hot topic, I think, that we need to stand up and voice. I think we have good public school education, public schools. I mean, there's always good and bad and everything, but whenever you up in Jeff City, you hear get all these surveys about how bad our public school education is. I'm thinking, I've been on the school board. We're very dedicated to things what we do. I think the problem is when DESE and the federal government start dictating what our schools have to do to get their money, is when you start digging down into these issues that we're having.
Right.
I mean,
it's not about education, it's about money.
I'm a true believer. You teach English, math, reading comprehension, all this other stuff that's social justice things should be left out of the school, and let the parents take care of that. That's not our job. That's not the teacher's job to do that.
I was on school board 20 years, as you know. I was headed off school board about the time you were coming on. I think we were on school board for a
little
short
while,
time, together. But I think we did agree on that. Let schools. To me, your schools will be as good as the school board members you elect and put on there, and it's up to the people to elect good people, serve on those boards, and then try to navigate the state and federal morass of requirements and things that tie your hands and make you do X, Y, and Z.
And that's
it's just
to me,
frustrating.
the biggest problem is, the people in seats up here dictating what's going on. And I've talked to numerous superintendents to the district. And, if they would just give guidelines instead of give a rule. A guideline says, hey, these are the guidelines you got to meet. Right. Not a rule. If you don't meet this rule, you don't get this money, because the superintendents are caught because they got to finance the school, right? Well, and get it functioning. Well, then they got this DESI says you don't get this money if you don't do this. Well, it's not best for that community. If it was a guideline says you just meet these guidelines and teach your kids, that's all we care about. But it seems like they want to care about what food they eat, what exercise they get, what this and this and this and this and this, instead of letting the school boards dictate that.
Mm-hmm.
And if the people in Wentzville, which that's where you have most of the issues in the state now, is all the stuff on the school board and cats and dogs and all that stuff. If the school board wants to do that and then people want to elect them on that, the parent can take them out. That's the way I look at it. I mean, that's where I'm at on that. Yep. It might be kind of a financial burden, but sometimes a lot of people homeschool because they want to have the influence of their kids. So no, that's where I'm at. Them are the two things that I think are probably going to get brought up that may be really important in the state. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things come up. I mean, if you look at when I was reading, I went through the bills. If you get on house.mo.gov and go to legislation right now, you've probably got 400 bills already pre-filed. Yeah. I mean, now you're going to start at 1,400. I mean, because what they did last session, we right at 1,300 and something was filed, and since the same session, they just start a new. They don't start with the number one. They start with where we ended up. Mm-hmm. So I'll have some of the same bills I filed last year that didn't get through, like my speed limit bill that Daryl's talked to me about for the last 3 years. Yeah. I'll have to refile that. It'll have a number down in the 1,200s, and it'll have an 1,800 or more number as well. But pre-filing started.
Isn't it interesting though? Now let's talk about that bill for a minute, because what we're talking about is it's just a simple bill. Right now, the speed limit on a terrible gravel. I don't mean terrible. I shouldn't say terrible, but on a gravel county road, the state
not a paved road,
non-paved, a county gravel road.
But I mean, on a I think we're trying to
gravel road, even, or it can be chip and seal paved, whatever. But at any rate, the state speed limit, unless the county goes through all the wheels and motions to get the deal to make it lower. Right. The speed limit is 50 miles an hour, and on some of these gravel roads, that is way too fast.
And people don't understand that. They think that it's 30. I always thought it was 30 until I really looked into it. But state statute back in the day, whenever had night, daytime speed limit, interstate 70, and all that stuff was when they changed all that, they put in statute that what roads would be, right? And that's just what it was, and it's just never been addressed in legislation.
So it's 50 miles an hour, unless the county goes through all these hoops and circles to make it less, and be sure that we have signs then made and posted on all them roads, and keep them up, because they get torn down and stuff. And so we talked about, and commissioners have talked about, and this is going back years, why not just pass it and make it law that speed limit would be, say, 35 or 40, something more reasonable, unless the local government goes ahead and makes it one. If you got it chip and seal and paved and you want to make it higher, okay, or if you want to make it lower because there's a subdivision there, you could do that. Seems a no-brainer, costs the state nothing, would save money for counties, and it's really a public safety issue. And yet, it's one of them things that
I couldn't get a hearing for it last year.
And it just is strange how it'll just.
I will get a hearing this year because I'm sending it to my transportation committee, because I'm the vice chair of the transportation committee. So I'm saying that's going to go there, right? Yeah. I'm going to use that relationship I have with the vice chair. They can say that. But
several years ago, there was a new rep from over in Western Missouri, and he was elected. And he was a former, actually, presiding commissioner from over there. And he was telling me that one of his goals was he was going to get that thing done. And he knew that he could get this done because he thought he could get this. And I'll be doggone, I think in his first or second year in office, he died of a heart attack. And then it kind of I
hope that don't happen to me, but hope to get that heard. Yeah.
Well, I know it's been promoted and pushed and things, but somehow or another, it always seems to. It's just just the way the system works, and but you got to keep after it, right?
You
Very
do. I
seldom
mean,
do
it's
you.
like your first year up there, you don't know nothing, and you don't know the right people, and you build the relationships to get the credibility, so. And get in the positions to where you can get things heard.
And process.
Yeah, I mean, getting to know people. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one of the things I'm going to work on this year. I had it last year. I've already asked to get that to Transportation Committee to maybe hopefully get that heard early on.
Mm-hmm.
That's non-controversial. I may even ask to go to, I'll think of the name of the committee. Basically, you can send it to a committee. And if they all agree, it just goes on through. But if it doesn't, if one person doesn't agree, then you can't take it it's done for the session. So that's a gamble that you take on that. I'm thinking about going to everybody on that committee and say, what if I send this to you, a unanimous committee or something like that? Would you support that? If they said yes, then I might just go that route instead of having to. I mean, but then it comes to the floor and then you get to vote on it. But yeah, that's one of the things I'll do this year that I've learned. So, and I can go over some of the things that I've done in the past, or something depending on what time you have or what you want done.
Well, we want to talk about the markets a little bit here if we get up. But what are you looking at?
Well, this year I filed some bills that I had the same bills last year, and it seems like and that happens. It doesn't always get through. So the 20% land bill, and I think you know about that one. It's basically is that the state or local state or government can't purchase any property in a county that already has 20% of the land owned by the state or federal government or any governmental agency. And there's about 8 counties in the state that affects. So I'm not going to get a lot of stronghold on that, but it gets right back into that. If you look at the counties that I represent, there's a lot of public land owned, and I truly feel. When people can purchase land or possess the land, it's an economic stimulus for the area. The more the government owns, it's obvious if you look at Shannon County and Oregon County about how much they own. I can't buy a 500-acre plot, put a house on it. The state owns it. They pay very little tax on it, so the county in the whole hurts, right? So that I'm going to refile that bill.
Yeah. About how many states are close to that 20? Do you know?
Counties.
How many
Yeah,
counties?
I'm sorry. How many counties?
There's 8 that's in that.
I mean, how many are like at 19%? If somebody, say somebody wanted to donate their land to the conservation, all of a sudden, now they're over 20.
See, and that's that. I'd have to look at that. I just know there's 8 right at that, and the issue I ran into is if I own property, I should be able to sell it to who I want to.
That's right.
I have no problem with that. The problem is that whenever that is negatively affecting the rest of the citizens because of the purchase of the government-owned land, it becomes an issue. And you get right back into China. We don't want China to own land because for a certain reason, because they come over and do things. The same with our government, and I don't want to. I'm in the government, but I'm not going to vent any. But we have a bureaucracy up there that. Agencies do what's best for the agency. They forget who they work for.
Right.
And I don't know how to implement this, but the first question every state agency should have is say, how is this best for our citizens of the state? But what and I can say this and feel comfortable, what their first question is how are we going to make it best for us? Yeah. It's not what's best for you anymore. It's what's best for them so they can function on a daily basis.
Well, as we all know about PILT money, all right, payment in lieu of taxes, it's nowhere near the amount of tax money that somebody would get for that land. Instead, you get a payment that's like
Exactly.
1/10 of, or maybe 1/12 of what it would be taxes, but that's your payment in lieu of taxes. That's a good deal.
But in your bill, it would be up to if they owned over 20%, it would be up to the county commission to give it formal approval for that property. Somebody that had some land that was landlocked, they wanted to sell it to MDC or Forest Service. It has. Those things aren't going to be a problem.
And then too, they could say, okay, if we're going to allow you to sell that, you're going to pay the same tax as anybody else does if it gets reassessed.
There you go.
Because right now, state agency purchases a piece of property. In 1980, their tax assessment has never went up.
Nope, stays the same.
I mean, and I don't know if you know, state agencies that got property before 77 pay none. If you look at Indian Trails, there's 13,000 acres on our PILT thing over here that's not assessed, that they pay nothing on. I mean, so them are the kind of things that I feel our state agencies are taking advantage of our citizens, especially in our rural areas. I mean, St. Louis, Kansas City, there's never going to have that problem because, I just found out Peck Ranch got another 5,600 acres added to it from Carter County, right? And that was a conservatory donated to a state agency. So now what's going to happen with that piece of property? The tax is going to go whatever, and it's so Carter County people are going to lose that battle because I can't buy 500 acres, put a cattle farm on it.
Sure.
I mean, so that, when is enough enough? I guess you get to the point, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to say enough is enough. Go buy it in St. Louis, Kansas City. Don't buy another 1,000 acres in Dent County, right? Because the only people that's going to suffer are the people that live in this area. Hunters may be good. Sure, you people are going to say we get taxes and all that. They always, but they can never show you how really. They're going to get gas. They're going to go to Walmart, right? But I don't think it even comes close to what I would produce on a cattle farm.
Well, just like out in the Lenox area, out by me, years ago, you can see there's now about 2,400 acres in that piece of property. They basically consumed what was about 4 or 5 different farms, cattle, livestock operations and families, and they're all gone. There's no viable livestock operation deal, and you can't even begin to compare what the economic impact was of all them farms being actual income producing and families and all that.
Books and stuff to the school kids. That's what they told me. Well, we give books, and they give $12,000 for gravel. Gravel road.
They do.
I mean, but does that even come close to what we lose?
That's it. It never does not.
So
appreciate that.
As a representative, I feel I need to represent the people and the issues here.
Yeah.
St. Louis and Kansas City people don't have a clue.
Right.
I mean,
No, they don't.
They don't. They just see all the benefits that they get from the agencies. So that's why a petition issue would be good. I got unlawful possession of a firearm again. That run into a brick wall last year because of the Brady Act. I truly feel that if I committed wrote a bad check that was a felony 25 years ago, and I've been a good citizen. There's a lot of people I know that I've arrested 25 years ago on felonies. That after that arrest, they have become good citizens and got in the community and contributed, but they can't possess a firearm because of certain issues. Now it's just non-violent felonies, bad checks, and things like that. It's not if you've committed a violent crime to get your firearm back. But I feel that, a guy at Sawmill said 25 years ago he got a DWI, 2 DWIs or whatever, and got a felony, and he's been a good citizen. He actually got the governor to give him clemency.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But that's a process, right? This bill would kind of alleviate that clemency process after so many years. If you did 10 years after probation and you haven't gotten in trouble, you could still possess or purchase. It would be possessed. Purchase still would be an issue because of the federal Brady Gun Act. So, I mean, that's where we may get into it. Maybe that little bite that's, hey, you can possess it, you just can't purchase it. That's kind of where I'm going to go because I can't fight the federal government on that Brady Act on the felony.
No, you're never going to win.
So I think there's gun rights people, good people, they should be able to do that after so many years. So, Speedland County Road, unlawful possession, the natural resource bill, that kind of goes hand in hand with, I filed that last year, and that's an HJR. That would have to come back to the people for a vote because basically right now, and I'm going to have the conservation, and I'm not against the conservation, but they manage the timber. The Constitution requires them to manage the timber. But when they manage the timber, they take all the proceeds, their half of the proceeds. And I can tell you, in Shannon County alone, in 3 years, they took their part, over $2 million worth of logs out of Shannon County, and put it in their general revenue. I asked them if they could tell me how much they spent to do that, and they said they couldn't. I don't know if they wouldn't, but I'm just saying, I asked them, I would just want to know how much does it cost you to manage this timber and gain that $2 million, because Shannon County is one of the poorest counties in the state, right? And then Trails, they took $173,000 worth of their part out, and I know that because I got it on the page. And that's when they told me they give books and things to the school, right? Okay, yeah, I mean, it's a box of books. It might cost them $200. But they took $173,000 out of Indian Trails logging, and I truly feel that should come back. Most of that should stay within the county that the logs, because they're benefiting from our rural natural resources, right? So I had a companion bill that goes with that, and I think last year they got $6 million worth of.
Well, then going back to the fact that they're not paying a comparable property tax like it would if it was in private hands.
The people. I mean, that's where I get into
it's the people.
State agencies think it, and they're getting an 8-cent sales tax, but then they're taking all this timber sales and pocketing it and giving a very pittance back to the community in which it was taken. Now, I know they give money all over the state, right? That's no thing. But by them owning that property here and taking that timber off, the tax base is not there. I can't buy it to improve it. So there's a lot of things that go involved in that, and I feel that's my rural areas. That's a big deal. $6 million last year they were supposed to get throughout the state. I mean, they got property all over state, and they're required to manage it.
Sure.
But it has to go back to the people, because they keep telling me we don't have to do that. We don't have to do. That's what bothers me. They said I don't have to do it because the Constitution says. Well, that's why I say the first thing they should ask is, how does this affect our people, right? So I have a companion bill to go with that, because if the people would actually pass that HJR to say yes, natural, and that goes with every state agency. If MoDOT comes out here and buys property and puts a road in and they sell the dirt, right? The proceeds should come back to the community, not MoDOT's pocket.
Coffer, yeah.
Because their tax base, they shouldn't be profiting from our natural resources. DNR, any state agency that has natural resource lead, so you got property and they got a lead mine underneath it. Now, I know the feds actually give a percentage of that through the Rural Schools Act or something, a percentage back to the counties in which it is. The state does none of that. So the companion bill that I have would give 50% of the proceeds back to the county, so they could do roads, bridges. 25% would go to the school district in which it was taken, and 25% would go to the state agency that was managing it, because I know it's not free. They got to pay an employee. They got to pay people to do that. So if you take that into effect, just taking Indian Trails up here, that would have been about $40-something thousand for R4 school.
Right.
And half of 170 would be 85,000 something
Right, for
to
the county.
To the county to manage your thing. Think of Shannon County. That would have been $1 million in 3 years for that county, and they are one of the poorest counties in the state. And they have I'm not against them. It's just I feel they take advantage of the people in these rural areas, because they can come buy land down here a lot cheaper than they can in St. Louis. They can't go get 5,600 acres in St. Louis County.
Couldn't find 5,600 acres.
You know, so I'm probably pretty passionate about that.
But they're finding loopholes to get this done.
Well, it's just the Constitution.
It was the way it was written in the Constitution. That loophole's never been filled.
And there's I've got the 3 times that I've presented these bills, every person on the committee, that ain't right. So I've got about 36, 40 people that have heard some of this already, and they understand what I'm doing. It doesn't affect them, but it affects me, you know. So building that relationship with them, letting them know, and I'm going to do it again this year and get some more people. But the problem is now we got to get the people out here to vote on that, right? Maybe I need to do it when it's 50% instead of 50, you know. but I'm just saying. But it would go to the people to vote on, and just to educate them. They just need to be educated, as in, because anytime people say your MDC says I'm taking money away from them, I'm not. That's not the intent. The way Don Mayhew, Representative Mayhew, and I'm going to quote him because he said this, that last year they entered their session with over $100 million. It was way over $100 million in their coffers. MDC did, right? I'm just quoting what Don Mayhew said, because I didn't look at that. If they've got that much left over at the end of the year, are they taking too much, or can they give more back to the people that they take it from? You know, so
plus they get a tax on top of that.
I mean, you know, yeah, there's a lot of things you'd like to do. Now, there's a lot of MDC bills out there this year that, you know, they're going to put one in HJR to go to the people that, you know, 10% of that money goes to DNR for our parks. I mean, because if they have that much left over, can they have $10 million to the parks? Yeah. Should they have that much money? I'm a true believer if a state agency is giving grants out, and I'm not against grants, but if a state agency, MDC, has $100 million left and they're giving grants out, are they taking too much of our money? I mean, they're getting to divvy out money to certain people instead of all of us keeping it.
So why is it going to another state agency instead of to the counties that they took their profits from?
Well, and that's kind of where but it's an uphill battle.
I get it.
There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. And they have done a wonderful job with the conservation part. I don't, and I tell the liaisons that all the time. I'm not against you. My job was voted by the people to represent the people, and what you're doing isn't best for the people that I represent.
Well, it's best for the Department of Conservation.
I mean, so, but it's like that on most of them. And some of the other bills that I'm going to do this year, inspections on cars. The inspection stations have to pay for their little sticker. Mm-hmm. They only get $12.50 to inspect that. We're asking inspection stations, this might be, and nobody really, I just think it's an injustice. Why is the state charging them $1 to pay for that sticker when they're only charging $12.50? But the inspection stations are doing a favor for the safety of the citizens of this state.
And the state requires it.
And they require
turn around requires them to pay $1.
Yeah, to get the sticker. I mean,
I
I don't want to say,
surprised.
hey, we're going to charge you $25, and everybody's going to be mad at me because I want to up the price of the inspection sticker.
Yeah, no one do that, Ryan.
They have a fit on that. But if I can say, why, just give them the sticker. I mean, it's a little bite of the apple, and then we can work on maybe the state needs to give them a $5 for every inspection. The state should give that to them because they are providing a service to the community to make sure we have safe vehicles on the road. And I wasn't out on a trooper prior to the inspection process. Mm-hmm. But, my sergeant, Gary Dunlap, told me prior to the inspection saying you would see accidents constantly with vehicles, no brakes, right. No tire tread, no nothing, windshields busted out. He said, so, the inspection process people might hate. I don't think anybody loves it. I don't think met anybody that loves that as far as having to do it every 2 years or whatever. But there's been a lot of changes in that in the past few years. The first 5 years you don't have to get a brand new vehicle inspected, and now it's every 2. You can get one for 2 years. Right. So they're trying to alleviate some of that burden on the
I remember when it was every year.
Yeah. So they're trying to alleviate that to where it's more convenient. And how can I give that inspection guy $12.50? It might take 30, 40 minutes to inspect the car like you're supposed to, and we're expecting them to do it for free. Mm-hmm. We should be not charging them. I got a personalized license plate bill that doesn't matter to half the people, but if you got a personalized plates, I didn't realize this. DOR charges you $15 every year for a personalized plate. Why? I mean, I can understand the first year you pay for that plate, right?
You pay for a premium.
And then the next year they're just renewing like everybody else. But they're charging me $15 every year for the same plate that I had. That
the state's not incurring any additional
no. They're getting
expense.
That little red sticker.
So what I'm going to do is on my bill, and it's $17.98 is what it is. It's going to be the first year is $30, right? And then every year after that, it's just a regular renewal fee like everybody else. Mm-hmm. Now, they're not going to like that because they like the extra money, but that's just I think that's just another tax they're charging me because I have a personalized plate. So, I mean,
you're penalizing
it might seem there's no money, no gain for anybody except the person that's doing it, right? So that's my goal. So, and I'll go over just a few things real quick that in the past 3 years that I feel as an accomplishment for the district and everybody as a whole. Now, when I started,
we'll get to the markets then.
Yeah. Okay. When I started, I was always told that if you have to have your name attached to something, you'll probably never get anything done in Jeff City, which is true because there's certain people that want their name stamped into. So you'll see a Senate bill go through with 5 or 6 amendments on it, right? Right. So what I've done is I've had bills that I filed, public safety bills, child logging bills, mm-hmm. and I never had the gumption or the relationship or the people to support it to be the bill to go through. So I've added let me add language to some of the agricultural bill. Like the agricultural bill several years ago, I got a logging bill to that, which allowed the loggers to haul logs, the same amount of logs, not any more safe. It just made it easier to enforce for the trooper or the policeman and the logger to understand what was going on. Because we had to measure the logs, and it was very confusing for the logger and the police. So that got attached to an agricultural bill that got passed, and I think that was actually a bill I started in it. The bill was 1962, and that was 2 sessions ago, and it finally got passed. And last session, I filed a child advocacy bill, which was House Bill 677, which it got attached to a child advocacy type bill out of the Senate. And basically what happened with that bill was there was a girl got kidnapped, and they got a phone call from a lady that kidnapped her, and she was on the phone, and there was a statute that didn't allow the child advocacy division to release that information to the police. Right. I mean, it was a crime because it was an anonymous phone call. They knew where she was, but they couldn't. Took them 5 hours to go through the process to the judge to get all this stuff to
Warrant
get.
and everything. Yeah.
Luckily, the girl was actually found and put in safe, but it was one of those little loopholes that needed to be fixed. That if the best interest, basically, I just changed the law that if it's in the best interest of the safety of the child for that information to be released, they could release it to the police and go through the process. I mean, it was. And
Would have saved a lot of time.
Yes, I mean, and one of these days when somebody gets kidnapped, I got them on the phone. I can't release the information if they can't. 30 minutes could make a difference. So
Sure.
That was one. Rat Back program, and I don't know. There's a lot of people might be aware of that. Any school teacher, bus driver, child care person, it has a database in the state that they have to be fingerprinted, so they're not dealing with children. We have people in them positions that are pedophiles or criminals, right?
Right.
So in the last 2 years, I had 2 bills on that one where it used to cost teachers $45 every 6 years, right, to get re-fingerprinted. And we always wondered, why did you have to re-fingerprint when you got their fingerprints and it never changes, right? So we were able to talk to the patrol and talk to them about, why don't we just get rid of that fee? You already got the program started. So now teachers don't have to pay the $45 and get fingerprinted every 6 years. Now, if they go to another school district somewhere else,
Right.
they may have to do that. But it was just an injustice to our teachers that every 6 years they had to pay another $45 for a background check.
Yeah,
When
and they didn't go anywhere.
they're still, their fingerprints are the same. Get rid of that. Also, that program, being a policeman, we added police officers to that bill, which basically said that if you're going to be a policeman in the state of Missouri, you will be part of this Rat Back program, because we didn't want policemen to go to Florida or somewhere else and commit a crime, then come back and continue to work in your community.
Right.
So now this program, every policeman in the state has to be fingerprinted, put in this program. So if they get arrested in another state, that will hit this database. The database will notify their supervisor. So there's no criminal thing. It gives the supervisor, the people in charge of them, that have an idea what happened, so they're not working in the community. The sheriff's pay was a big issue. I know that was a vote, but the one thing that when that was going through the process, I knew how much that was going to affect the counties, and Darrell can admit to that. You know, there was a big substantial increase when the sheriff's pay come in. I was allowed to get up and add a 5-year plan to that. I mean, I feel, some communities benefited, because if it was going to be $30,000 increase in the budget for a county in 1 year
For one office holder.
for one office holder. That
Absolutely.
I mean, we want to support our law enforcement, but some of these counties it was a $20,000-$30,000 increase for some of these counties for one office holder was astronomical. I agreed with the pay increase. I just didn't agree with how it would affect the counties. So I was able to add a 5-year plan to that, so they would divide that $30,000.
I can tell you, and I was president of the Commissioners Association that year, so I was right in the thick of that whole deal. And I tell you, and I think you and I probably actually agreed on this, that our biggest gripe on this thing was how that happened. Was you talked about pre-filing the bills
yes.
and all these things, and it made kind of a joke and a mockery of that whole process.
Very.
Why worry about pre-filing everything? Just wait till the last week or 10 days of the session and boom, attach it on a bill, slam bam, no time, no hearings, no time for hearings, no time for any input, and nothing. And I'm not against one bit. Sheriffs were grossly underpaid, and many commissioners agreed. The frustration was there was no chance for input, no chance for hearing, no nothing. But unfortunately, and for better or worse, that is kind of how the system does work sometimes.
Yeah,
Thank you, though, for putting that in there as a former commissioner. The provision there that if it was over, I think, $10,000 a year, then it would be phased in at 20% a year, phased in then over a 5-year period for them. And I think, sheriffs, by and large, those that were, for the most part, I think some of them weren't very happy about that.
Probably not, but
20%.
I thought it was fair as a whole.
But at least we're getting a whole lot more than they were, and now 5 years down the road, they're going to be getting a whole lot more than they were. And I don't begrudge a penny that anybody in law enforcement makes, not one penny.
And Darrell actually talked to me about this at the beginning of session, because he said Brown had something, Senator Brown, and I was watching out for this particular bill because I think it was interesting, and I wanted to make sure that was a substantial pay increase. And he's right, it got slipped in at the last moment. It's like it was just one of those. It was very difficult. It was we want to support the law enforcement, but it was just how it was done.
Yeah.
Right? I had a rep one time tell me, he says, he never filed a bill, ever. A past rep. He says, I just did amendments.
At the right time.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, I mean,
Uh-huh.
so, and to me, I think that's not, I don't think you should. Now, there's times you need to add amendments, like this one on the
Absolutely.
five-year
Sure.
plan.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to file that, go to committee. They added this bill that Daryl we're talking about, the sheriff's pay, on the floor, and I'm thinking, hold on here, this is going to kill our commissioners and the budget in some of these smaller counties. How can we help at least alleviate that? And we even had another amendment on there that to take the attachment of the prosecutor's salary, his salary's attached to that as well. I mean, because that takes, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so we even had an amendment ready to go that. Willard Haley, or Jamie Berger, representative, I says, you need to add this because we don't need them attached to the federal prosecutor's salary because our
Federal judges. Yeah.
federal judges, because our prosecutors and judges do that, and it takes all the authority away from the state or the counties to pay that. Sure. I mean, it's just automatic. I mean,
Well, as Congress gives raises to judges,
yes,
then it automatically gives raises.
And they don't care. They're giving it up there, but it affects us.
Yep.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
it automatically goes through to the local judges and the county prosecutors.
That needs to be changed. I know the prosecutors and judges might not like that, but I think
Probably
if they
not.
really sit down and think, is it the best way to do it?
Yeah.
No. But no, and let's see. Last year I was able to do a PTSD bill. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Police officers, firemen, they see hundreds of critical incidents where most people in their life might see 2 or 3. And you do have some issues, and I've seen some troopers that, ended up committing suicide, and I think it was probably because of that, I was able to get that through to where now they can be it's a workman's comp claim. It doesn't mean it's automatic. It just, there's a process now to say, hey, this guy went through this, and this, to where it really is an issue, because in the past they didn't claim it as anything.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. A lot of stuff, right?
And then the last thing I'll say is, and I hope that I was able to work with the budget chair in the House and Senate and the governor's office to get $1 million for our hospital. I mean, people don't understand. I think
$1 million, not
Million.
$100 million.
No, yeah, well, I wish it was 100.
Yeah.
$1 million, and it's matching funds. I will say that,
They're
right?
still working on it.
And they are working on it. And I am staying in touch with them. So if they need anything from the state legislature moving forward, and some issues that might be coming up, and there's some issues that they have, and it's sad that this happened. But I told them anything I can do if I need to go to the governor to extend that, that can be done. I mean, but we don't want it if we're not. But we need the capital improvements. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm willing to go to bat for the community. I think we need to keep our hospital.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people ask for money for personal reasons or their own business. Don't get me wrong, that's good for our community. But, the one we should focus on our hospital. I mean, we need that, even though people might say they drive by it, but when someone's dying, we don't want to drive 45 more minutes.
Trust me, when you need it, you want it there.
And I think overall they do an excellent job. And people's going to have their opinions here and there to have a bad experience. I work for UPS. If you have one bad experience, they'll tell 10 people. Yeah. If you go and you have a good experience, they might tell one. So I mean, and that was a chore in and of itself, because there was other medical agencies throughout the state that the governor line item that. So being in the hallway at the Capitol at 11:30 at night, having conversations with the governor's staff was really important. You think it's 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. I mean, when they're up there walking the hallways, you want to be up there. Hey, what's going on? Hey, can I send you an email? And constantly, hey, don't forget about me. And the hospital did a great job giving me the bill or what they were going to fix. They didn't just say, give me $1 million, I'm going to build this, right?
Yeah.
They said the roof needs this, the sewer needs this. So I think that was a good thing. And the governor saw we need to keep our rural hospital, and I want to thank him for not slashing through it, and the budget chairs for keeping it in the budget.
Way too many rural hospitals closing already.
I mean, and we just need to. I want to do everything I can do for that not to happen. But at the end, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and you can do your other. If you're done, if you have any other questions,
Darryl has 2 minutes.
Ron, thank you very much. South Central Regional Stockyards, we do appreciate the work you and our other local reps do to help support agriculture, and it is the largest industry in the state, and within agriculture, then the cattle industry is the big thing on that. Cattle
Thank
and
you very
corn.
much.
Do appreciate it,
Good
and
update.
have a productive session and have fun
Well, like I
this
said, if
session.
there's anything comes up agriculture, I'll talk to Daryl on Sunday, or Representative Hayden, or
He's been known to call me during the week.
Yeah.
Hey, who's so and so, or what do you need? What can
or even
how do you
our
get hold
people here locally that
Yep.
I know, Justin Hedrick
Yeah,
and all them on the boards and the Farm Bureau people.
Yep.
I mean, them are the people that I don't know everything, but I know people that do, and I think you're a better representative if you rely on the people that do that daily to give me
Yep.
advice.
Get the pulse, today's pulse on what's
Yeah.
going on. Yeah.
Very good.
Very good. All right,
Meanwhile,
meanwile, at South Central Regional Stockyards.
we had no sale. We'll have no sale this coming week,
Okay.
nor will we have a sale the week of New Year's. Our first sale will be coming up. Next sale will be coming up on January the 10th, Wednesday, January the 10th, and it will be a feeder calf and yearling special. There'll be another one the following. I think we have sales every Wednesday. I think the first couple or three sales will be pretty heavy with feeders and yearlings. A lot of folks have been hanging on to them for a while, and of course, these are always dependent upon the weather. The weather
Sure,
could change that thing. Somewhere along the line, today's the first full day of winter. Somewhere along the line, we're going to get winter weather. But at any rate, the last few weeks, like I said earlier, the cattle market's been a bit of a yo-yo this year, but it always is. But we're still in a much better position than we were, say, a year and a half ago when we're looking at prices. We've just a while back, even though cattle had backed off some, sold cattle, and a gentleman was telling me that he sold steers higher than he'd ever sold steers in his life, $200 or $300 a head higher than he ever had. It's a numbers thing. We're very anxious to see what the total cattle inventory report for January 1, 2024, how that'll look. But that'll be later at the end of January before we see that. But we know that number is going to be down, the number of cows out there. We've slaughtered a lot of cows this past year, but the drought has had a serious effect all across. And Missouri is still in a very extended. It's raining out there now, but we're still in a very serious drought situation. Ponds are low. I've got one pasture myself that I usually will winter cattle in because it has a little creek runs through it. There's not a drop of water other than, well, maybe some wet rocks now with this rain that came, but there's no drinking water in that pasture where that is at. So I know some folks that are digging water lines this past week and putting some tanks in to run off their wells because the situation with ponds is so bad. So anyway, and you'll probably be hearing more about that as far as Ron with the Department of Ag. But at any rate, the cattle market has been good. The numbers are good. We will, again, we won't have a sale this week at South Central Stockyards nor the week of New Year's. January 10th will be the next one. Our last real sale for comparison purposes was on Wednesday, December the 13th. Had a great sale, nearly 1,700 head. Just to give somebody an idea, even though cattle had fallen off a little bit in prices, the futures prices had dropped back from in the 230, 240 area all the way back to 210, and but they had actually bounced back. We're back up around 220, 225 now on feeder cattle futures. But at that last feeder special on Wednesday the 13th of December, just to give you some ideas, and we always talk about this, about value added. At that sale, I want to give an example. We had several head of cattle averaging about 608 pounds. Value-added cattle, 608 pounds at $2.49 a pound, $1,517 a head. Okay, and that's a little less than what it would have been back a month and a half, 2 or 3 months ago.
Well, yeah, so
but that compares, if we
though.
compare that with some cattle, same weight cattle, unweaned, no shots, $1,360 a head. So you can easily see where you can add $100, $150, almost $200 a head just because of what we call the value added, and that's get them weaned, a couple of rounds of shots, and it's important in this more and more all the time that those shots include modified live vaccination boosters. Another example down here, some bigger cattle weighing 765, value added at $222 a pound. Some just other cattle, like very similar size at $212. So again, 10 cents a pound on 700, almost 800 pound cattle. It's another $70, $80 a head there just for being able to validate that they've had the shots and things. Heifers typically. Another example, 522 pound heifers, value added, $2.46 a pound, 524 pounders, just run of the mill, $2.37. So again, about 10 cents a pound. So anyway, it gives you an idea. It's been a great year. We at South Central Regional Stockyards. Well, I just want to mention, if anybody is interested, want to consign their cattle, they need to arrange trucking, or they want to just arrange an on-farm visit, we'd love to come and visit with you, take a look at your operation, and visit with you about your marketing plans, your marketing needs. Just call the barn at 573-422-3305. Ask for Ross, Bill, or Dave Patton, or you can call me, and My number is 573-308-5415. Be glad to visit with you. Come to the farm and take a look at what you're thinking about doing. And but I do just want to say that South Central Regional Stockyards wants to thank all of our great customers, and we want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous New Year for 2024. Mm-hmm. And don't forget, you can always go on dvauction.com and view the sales live. You can get registered and you can buy if you're looking to buy. Go on and buy. We actually, this week, we had kind of on this week's special, a little special set of bred heifers. Real nice, top quality black and black baldy bred heifers. Top selling heifers actually came right back here to Dent County when we bought via the internet sales. So we see that happening more and more all the time. And that's a service we do provide. Good top quality heifers this week. We're bringing, these were heifers, second, third stage heifers, bred to good calving knees, Angus and Hereford bulls, bringing $2,200 to $2,450 a head, I think it was. So, good top quality heifers. Glad to see them come back here to Dent County.
Absolutely.
They were from up in the Vienna area. So at any rate, it really, truly is a great time to be in the cattle business, and I'm very happy to be more heavily involved in that and helping folks market their cattle. I'm up there on sale day. If you got cattle there, if you bring them up, well, just let me know, and I'll be sure and I'll try to look them up and help get them moved on through perhaps a little quicker, maybe.
And if you're looking to get into the business and you never
give it a
have, I
shot.
highly recommend you go up there and actually take it an auction.
Go in and sit.
It's very interesting. If you've never been through it, I think you're going to learn a lot.
You'll enjoy it
there in person.
We got one of the cleanest livestock sales facilities in the state. A great restaurant right on the end of the facility called the Market, and Tracy Shiver does a great job with it. So great time to be in the cattle business. Do appreciate everybody, their business. Appreciate all of our buyers, and buyers come all the way from right here at Salem, all the way to far out in Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, and all points in between. So we will be back here.
It'll be next year.
On KSMO. Our first program back here will be Friday, January the 12th. That'll be after our first big sale of the year. So maybe temperature will be about like this, and maybe it'll just be a nice gentle rain coming down. We'll see. But anyway.
The rain is definitely welcome right now.
But anyway, we do wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. And remember, the reason we're celebrating Christmas is because of the birth of our Savior, Jesus Christ. And don't forget that. Give your family all a hug and enjoy the holidays. And until we're back here on the 12th of January, I do hope everyone will be safe, happy, healthy, and God bless each and every one.